Good morning, guys. Yeah, I got my hair cut. I'm pretty stoked on it right now because I was getting a little scruffy before. So, welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here because you're just popping in on the video based off of just doing some research, welcome. My name is ChrisSadowski. I do car stuff here and lifestyle automotive stuff. And right now I'm working on a customer car. This is my little shop called Velocity Racing Fabrications, or VRF, or Velocity Race Fab, whatever you want to call me. Small business, single dude, just me, myself, and I. And anyway, the point of this video is to just make a little review per se on this kit. So this is a turbo Honda Civic drag car that I've been fortunate enough to work on, and I guess it's not even really a car at this point. It's basically a go-kart, and you'll see why in a second. But so basically, this video is going to be a little bit more on the shorter side, not so much my normal style video. Normally, I'm a vloggy type. This is going to be more of a review discussion / finishing the install on this thing because I wanted to share some grievances I have, because this is probably going to be a option that a lot of people look into because it is a more budget oriented roll cage kit. So yeah, I mean, I guess let's just go over kind of what we've got so far. As you can see, I'm not fully done installing the cage yet because it's, cage work is quite the process. So this is the customer car that I'm working on right now. Now this, mind you, this video is not, and I absolutely mean it is not to poop on the car, the customer, anybody. Everybody has a budget, and I am new to this. So take that with a grain of salt. And what I mean by I'm new to this is I don't get cage work often. I've done my own roll bar in my Integra, which was a 4-point, which is nothing like doing a full cage like this. I've done a couple open hoops in Miatas, and then I've done a conversion setup where I cut out a bunch of tubes from a drag Civic or CRX and converted it to a road course setup. And that's about it. So not that I have inexperience, because I've been fabricating for a couple years now. I've been doing it full time on my own for about 1.5 2 years. But I'm new to business, and this is one of those situations where, because I don't get a lot of cage work, because I'm still working my way into that customer base that has thousands of dollars at a time to blow, comes a learning curve. Now, there's no better way to learn than to jump into it, because stuff like cages is a lot of trade secret stuff people aren't going to tell you, because then you can take their business, which I completely understand, and that's where a lot of this is I've had to figure out myself. So again, this is not any negativity towards owner or car, because everybody has a budget, and I bear that in mind. And this was more of a learning curve for me to understand and get some practice with understanding cages and understanding the way I want to do things and which jobs I do and don't want to take. So let's just start with that. Now, for me, this is going to be the last pre-made cage I install, unless it's from CageKits.com, Chair Slayer. As far as I know, he's one of the only dudes in the industry that does 3D scanning, CNC bent, laser etched, laser notched, all that stuff. Let's kind of start there and go over why this cage is not very good. Let's go over the material first and foremost. Now, I don't know how it is with drag racing, because again, I am new to cages, so I don't fully know what the NHRA specs are and regulations for it. So this cage on the website from JEGS, this is a Rhodes 10-point roll cage, and they say it meets or exceeds NHRA SCCA or something like that standards. But you see what you see here, this is a seam line. So this is actually hot rolled electric welded mild steel tubing. Now this is 1 5/8, roughly 0.135 wall thickness, and to my understanding, at least in drift and road course, this tubing is not legal for, this would not pass inspection. If you went to go get the cage certed, this would not pass, because it needs to be drawn over mandrel, aka DOM, or chromoly. So let me show you the difference between DOM and this stuff. Come with me to my scrap bin. So this right here actually happens to be some DOM. So we'll get this in the light so you can really see. So you see the coloration, how it's got this blackish brown color, and there's no seam to it. Whereas on this stuff, you can see the seam right there, that blue line, that laser weld line. So the difference, because they're both mild steel, is the manufacturing process. Now, to my understanding, DOM has a much, much higher tensile strength. I don't know if that's the right term, but it's much, much stronger. This will hit and rebound. That stuff will hit and crush. So that's not so much more of a grievance as it is a concern, because I don't want the guy to go to the track and immediately get kicked out after spending, all this time and money getting this thing ready for it to not pass because it's the wrong material. Granted, that would kind of be on him, but it is what it is. It's not like full race car. I don't think he's doing, well, I mean, it is full race car, but I don't think he's doing any class races. I think he's just going for his own time. So it's a cage more to get him to pass tech than it is to be inspected, certified, and all that stuff. So you can see so far I've got the main hoop installed, kind of dark lighting in here. I've got the halo installed, and I've got the A-pillars as well as the rear supports. Alright, so when I say I had some trouble with this main hoop, I really mean I had some trouble. So the issue first and that I ran into initially is that as immediately upon test fit, I could tell it's one of those pre-made ones that's made to a very loose tolerance. Now normally what I mean by that is around the pillars, the A-pillar and the roof, or the B-pillars and the roof. Normally you want the cage to be as tight fitting to the body as possible because this is a device that is intended to support the vehicle in the event of an accident. Now, this one, I get it, pre-made kit, a little on the cheaper side, well, very much so cheap. This whole kit, this 10-point roll cage was $467-ish plus $150 freight shipping. So, mind you, I can't even get the material to build this same basic 10-point without all the extra gussets and stuff. I can't even get the material for this for less than about $1,000, if not about $1,200 for buying DOM tubing, because stuff is expensive. So the price immediately reflects the quality in this case. So the issue A was that the main hoop was extremely overbent. Now I was so flustered. I spent the last 2 days working on it to get to this point. And so I didn't take any photos. Instead, I just spent the time trying to fix it and, cussing and kicking the wall type thing. So I had to take the harness bar, which is the other issue, is all the extra material over here. Mind you, this is a pre-notched kit, pre-bent, pre-notched for most of the components, but all the notch angles are wrong. So like the door bars, they give you them notched at 20 degrees according to the instructions. They don't fit remotely anywhere. Like the notch does not fit at all other than almost vertical or parallel like with the door, which is not how a door bar is supposed to be. Normally it goes from under the first bend on the main hoop around shoulder height-ish, and it goes down to the floor, and that one won't even fit. So I have to redo all the notches. The dash bar is far too long double notched. Why notch it? If just send the bar, just don't notch it, don't waste the time. And maybe that's a small grievance. I'm just noting, again, these are things that I've observed with this kit. Same thing with the harness bar. The dash bar and the harness bar interchangeable lengths are like one's like a ½ inch longer, so you can kind of pick and choose which one's which. But you'd imagine being the harness bar is already pre-notched that it would fit the main hoop. It did not. It was like 4 inches longer, 3 inches longer than the main hoop, and I actually had to use it to spread the main hoop because the issue was that the main hoop was so overbent. It was pulled in after main hoop was centered. The one side was like 4 inches away from the floor, like the side seal, and the other side was like an inch away. So I had to use the harness bar and hammer it down in there and tack weld it all crooked in place to spread the legs out on the main hoop far enough to be able to insert the hoop into the car. And then also, I don't know if it's the chassis or if it was the hoop that was too long on one leg, but it sat about a little over a ½ inch higher on one side than the other. So I had to shorten it down just a little bit on that long leg. And then the other issue right off the bat was with the halo. Now the halo is basically a little main hoop that follows the roof line. Normally you can either do long A-pillar bars that go from main hoop to the floor, or you run a halo and then like a half length A-pillar bar that goes from floor to edge of halo. Now the halo, same issue. It was not wide enough overall, but the issue that I had with it was that where it attaches was far too wide. Like the bends weren't enough, so it's not normally supposed to attach mid-bend. You're not supposed to have really tubes in the middle of the bends. You want them before or after. This one, even ratchet strapping, and again, I don't have any photos of this. I wish I did. But I had to ratchet strap it to the point where the ratchet strap was about to play Jack in the Box with my face. And that was barely enough, and I had to do a really poor notch because it was coming through the bend, so I couldn't notch it really appropriately. So there was a bit of a gap to fill, and yes, I did end up putting holes in the floor, dropping the cage down. That was my first time doing that, and that's why, again, I took the job on, because for me, that's a learning experience right there. I didn't know how to do that before, and now to me, it's like, oh, wow, that was easy. Normally, you would either build the cage on blocks and drop it off the blocks, or you would build it like this with plates, and then you would go down. I think the blocks are a much more efficient, cleaner look, but in this case, now I know if I ever have to do this style of thing again, I know how to drill the floor out, because then the plates cover the holes, you weld it all up, you're good. So this is what I mean. So the gap here is a little bit too large for my liking. And the other issue is, again, this bend, well, this attachment point is more supposed to be over to the inside of this bend. And again, with ratchet strapping it, it did not want to fit, but I made it work, so that's the best we can really get. And those notches, this one actually came out pretty decent. That one was kind of a pretty loose fit. It's just really difficult with the weird angles. But yeah, had to hand notch those. So the dash bar goes across there to there. I'll have to move his tachometer. The floor plate's not fully welded in yet because I do have to go under the car and prep the chassis because it's spitting and hollering because there's all the paint and seam seal underneath. So I just go underneath with a wire wheel and clean it all up on a angle grinder. But yeah, that's kind of like my main grievances with the kit is just like it is very cheap and that's the concern. But the fitment, I'd honestly give it a 3 out of 10. You get the general shape, you get the general idea, but there's no instructions because the instructions don't tell you even how to weld the tops of the joints, which for stuff like this, you obviously need 100% weld joints. So the other concern is that it's just so stinking heavy with such low grade material that is it really worth the savings when you're kind of risking your safety at the end of the day? Like, granted, this is nothing left of this car. Like, it's completely cut. There's nothing in here. So this is one of those cases where it's like, something's better than nothing, and this is a one-and-done scenario anyway. If this thing ever hit the wall going down the strip, the cage will do its job, but it's going to be one and done. Whereas with a good DOM cage, chances are, because it's such a good, strong material, it usually will rebound. You could cut that thing out and reuse it in something else, but whatever. And again, this was not to at all say anything about the owner or anything else. I get everybody's working with a budget. I'm going to take the benefit of the doubt and just say that this guy probably was uninformed or unaware of what he was doing. Most people don't because that's not really their job. Like, it is, it's his responsibility, he has to look into it, but it's somebody like me's job to know and to tell him. So that's why this is the first job in months where I've actually taken it on without inspecting the vehicle even before putting a number down. And seeing the material, because normally I don't work with customer supplied material. When I'm building exhausts, I don't use their stuff unless it's mufflers or something they're supplying. But like, it's just one of those things where it's not his fault. He could have done some more research, sure, but he just didn't know. It's a naivety thing and a budget thing. So some people just don't have the budget, and that's where I'd like to be able to use a video like this to show you guys what it is that you're paying for, and to where I can hopefully persuade you to get something either fully custom or a little bit better of quality, not only for somebody like me who's doing the installations, simplicity, but also for your safety. Other than that, that's pretty much my only thing. I would not recommend buying this Rhodes cage kit. There's just too many problems with it. I mean, overall, it just doesn't fit very well. Poor quality material. Yeah, it's just not a very good time. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get started. I finished my coffee really quick. This thing's next in line. This thing's getting an exhaust. But I don't know. Again, I didn't mean this video to be so negative. I just wanted to give an honest review, and I genuinely just don't have anything good to say about this cage kit. Just don't buy it. Buy something a little bit better. Save your money. But with all that said and done, I am excited to see this guy make a pass. He's a really cool guy. And before I, start working on this thing, I know you guys are going to be like in the comments if I didn't show you what, was under the hood, all mad. So there you go. That's where all the money went. I don't know what motor this is. I think it's a GSR. I can't really tell. I forget. It's been a minute since I've messed with the B series. But coil on plug, turbo, freaking all that other jazz. About 4 or 5 hours later now, I got the rest of the cage finished up, tubular-wise. All that's left for me to do is put the car up higher in the air so I can prep the underside of the chassis a bit more, like I mentioned before, so I can finish welding the base plates. But check it out. Here's the driver door bar. There's a passenger over there. Now, I was a little confused on the height of the door bar. I was getting mixed, readings. Some things were saying shoulder height. Some were saying in between shoulder and elbow, and others were saying no higher than halfway up the door. So this is kind of like a happy medium. It's just barely over halfway up the door, but it's in between the shoulder and the elbow. So it should be good because that way the driver can still get in and out, but it definitely covers like the pelvic area over here because I know that's an important part of a door bar. But yeah, so that's all welded in there. Of course, these crossbars coming down, I did put a base plate down on the floor there and notched it accordingly so they could intersect each other. But yeah, overall, I am pretty stoked. Thankfully, the latter half of this cage went much smoother than the first half. But yeah, again, this is pretty much gonna wrap it up. I just gotta again prep the bottom of the chassis to finish welding, the base plates. And then this thing's homeward bound. Of course, does not change my review on the cage itself, because the ladder, or the ladder half of it, these door bars and main hoop assist bars and stuff, that's all stuff that you have to adjust yourself. It's just cut extra long so you can do all the notching, and obviously having a good tube notcher works really well. I use the JD squared tube notcher right here, and then I just found a 1 5/8" hole saw bit at Lowe's because Home Depot doesn't have them in store. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, I would not recommend this kit, but it's your money. You do what you want. Depends on how much you want to pay in labor. So if you enjoyed the video, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you used a cage like this before, I also want to hear your experiences with it, because I'm genuinely curious if it's just this kit that I'm having the issues with, or if it's a pretty normal thing for these cheaper kits to kind of suck in terms of fitment. But thanks for spending some time out of your day. If you want to support me further, I do have t-shirts on Velocity Race Drive's website. If you want to get some work done and you're local, or even if you want to ship me your car or whatever, hit me up on Instagram or shoot me an email through the website and I'll get back to you. And do what you love. Forget the rest. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.